Welcome to this tutorial on using the gyro sensor. I'm Captain Stromberg, and today I'm going to show you how to use the gyro to make the robot go straight. Have you ever noticed when you use a move block that the robot doesn't always go completely straight? Sometimes it goes a little left, sometimes it goes a little right. Well, today I'm going to show you how to fix this using the gyro. And this will make your programs much more reliable and much more repeatable, and it helps you get a better score. First, let's talk a little bit about what the gyro does. It measures the movement in a single plane. So it's important to mount the sensor the correct way on the robot. For turning left and right, it should be mounted with the red markings up. And you can see that in my little robot right there, that the gyro is mounted up. Now, it is also best to mount the sensor near the center of your robot. If it's out to one side or the other, it's going to get some different readings. The ideal place would be right where the center of the robot would turn would be, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just, the closer, the better it is for that. The sensor measures the degrees of rotation. So if the robot turned around a circle once, it would measure 360 degrees because there's 360 degrees in a circle. We can look down here at our gyro sensor, and right now it's reading 0, and I'm going to turn my robot around to the right, and that's about half, and there's one circle, just a little bit over, and you can see that it's showing 360 degrees. If I turn it around again, it's just going to keep counting up. And 720 would be 2 full rotations of the robot. And just right about there. Now, if you turn it to the left, or counterclockwise, it decreases. And so there's one rotation, and we're back to 360 to the left. And if I go another rotation to the left, it's going to come back to 0. If I go a little bit further to the left, it starts reading negatives. And if I go one full circle counterclockwise again, now we're at negative 360 degrees. And so turning counterclockwise is negative, turning clockwise is positive. This makes it really easy to make a program to make the robot go straight. So we're going to start a new program, and what we're going to do is, first, we need a few variables. And one of them will be a gain variable. And that just defines how fast you want the robot to correct back to the center point. And we're going to be using gain a lot in different programs, whether it be for following a line or using the gyro to correct. So it's a good concept to go over, but we're going to just add the variable right now. And the other variable we want to put in here is speed. How fast do we want this robot to follow the line? Alright, so now before we have the robot go straight, we need to tell it to reset the gyro. We're going to have a simple version of this program, and all it's going to do is make the robot go straight. And so we want to reset the gyro so that it knows that it's starting at 0. Look at our sensor right now, it's at minus 359. If we started our program right now, it would say, whoa, I'm way off course. I need to make a huge correction. And it would turn the robot all the way around before it went straight. And that's not what we want. So we'll reset the gyro. And now we're going to need a loop block, because the robot's going to have to do a lot of thinking, and it's going to have to loop around in order to make corrections as it continues to go. So in our loop block, we're going to have to measure from the gyro how far off it is. And the idea here is if the gyro shows -1, it's moving slightly to the left. And so we're going to want to add a little bit of power to the left wheel and take a little power away from the right wheel. And then the robot should straighten out. And then when it gets back to 0, it's going to go ahead and put the same amount of power to both wheels. And if it goes a little bit to the right, it'll be a plus number. And then it'll make a correction in the opposite direction. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure the angle from the gyro. And I talked about gain before and how quickly we want to have this go back. So we're going to read our gain number, and we're going to put that into a math block. And we're going to simply multiply our degrees that it is off by the gain. And that's going to give us our correction value. And so we're going to need another variable for this. So if the sensor shows this only 1 degree off, and we have our gain to be 2, it would be 1 times 2, and so it's going to change the power by 2 instead of by just 1. So it'll come back to the line quicker. Now, sometimes you want a bigger gain if it's not correcting back fast enough. Sometimes you want a smaller gain. If it's really jerky in how it's correcting, your gain is too big and you want to decrease it. So you're going to have to see how your robot responds and adjust this accordingly. If you have your gain set to 1, it's not doing anything for you. If you use a decimal value, it'll make it correct even slower. If you use a larger value, it'll make it correct faster. So if it's correcting and overcorrecting, put a smaller number in there. So then what we need to do is a little bit of math to figure out power going to each motor. And we actually need 2 different math blocks for this. So, and I neglected to correct this, so we're going to write the answer into correct. And then we're going to read out of the correction here. Now, I could just draw lines to connect these directly into the math blocks, but I'm trying to have it show you better what it's doing. So here we're going to read the number correct. And we also need to read the speed. So we need our speed variable here. And so read number. And in the first one, we're going to take the speed plus the correct. So, and then the answer to that is going to go into one of the wheels. And we're just going to use, we could use either 2 large motors, or we could use the move tank and have them go into each, the power for the B and C. And for this, we're just going to turn it on. So we're going to have this one go ahead and go to the left wheel. So if you have a negative number times the correction, and that's actually going to be backwards. So this actually needs to go to the right wheel. Because if it's going to the left, and that's a negative number, we need more power to the left wheel. And that's going to be how we get more power to the left wheel. Now we're going to subtract on this one. And again, we're going to take the speed here, and we're going to subtract the correction for this one. And then that's going to go into our B wheel. All right, so now if we go run this program, It's an infinite loop, so your robot's going to just keep going on and on and on forever, and it should go in a straight line. So why don't we go take a look and see what the robot does. Alright, so I downloaded the program, so let's go ahead and run it and see what the robot does. And that's not what we were looking for. And what happens there is I got the wheels set to the wrong. So when it got a little bit off, it started correcting in the wrong direction, which made it get more off. And so it corrected even further in the wrong direction, and the problem kept on going until it ended up going in circles. So let's go back and switch the wheels real quick. Alright, so here we're just going to very quickly unhook this wheel, set this wheel over to here, and then correct this wheel, connect the wheel right there, and that should make the robot go straight. So let's go ahead and try that now. Alright, so now we're going to run the program again, and you'll notice that the robot always corrects to go in the direction I started it. Alright, so a couple good lessons were learned today. One, even if you know exactly what you're doing, it's easy to make a mistake. And I switched and I put the robot's the power to the wrong wheels, and you saw that it didn't do what we expected. But that's alright. The important thing is to go through, figure out what the problem is, and then go ahead and fix it. Everybody makes mistakes. The important thing is to figure out what the problem is and then be able to fix it. So this is the quick little program on how to get your robot to go straight. And now this isn't very useful to us because it just turns on and goes straight forever and ever and ever and ever. But we're going to go ahead in my next video and combine this with the My Block that converts centimeters to degrees of rotation, and this and some new stuff to make it stop at a very specific distance while going straight. So there's something to look forward to. I hope this video is helping you out and making your programming skills stronger. Please come back later and check for more videos.